my life. Thank you very much. Now, dear participants, there was some hitch, some problem with my what you call voice problem. So, though I was there on time, but happened. So, I all welcome you. I welcome all of you to this Atal Faculty Development Program on Sustainable Development and Green Energy, Zakir Hussain College of Engineering and Technology, Aligarh University, Aligarh. I welcome, and my topic given by Dr. Rehan, coordinator, was solar and wind energy. Now, solar and wind energy itself is a very, very large area. So, and I don't even know the exactly, when you have in front of a class or in front of a conference, you know the faces and you can assess the audience. But this is one of the disadvantage of what you call online learning, that I'm not able to exactly assess the age group or the seniority or the specialty. But anyway, I start with the solar energy. Sun has been the most primary source of energy right from the beginning of this century. Not in the century, but beginning of the earth. Because actually, when we trace the energy, even if it is fossil fuel, it is because of the sun that we get all the energy. So, as in the first slide, sun is a very large ball, its diameter of 1.4 into 10⁹ meters. And on the same breath, Earth is very, very small in comparison to Earth, and it is very small in comparison to Sun, and it is 1.27 into 10⁻⁷ meters. The distance from Sun and Earth is 1.49, or you can say 1.5 to 10⁻11 meters. So quite a large distance. The amount of energy which Sun radiates is 1.8 into 10 to the power 11 megawatt, which is 10,000 times energy demand of the world. So if you are able to even tap 2-3% of sun energy by different methods, then we can solve the energy problem of this earth, not alone of this country, of this continent, but whole of the earth. So different forms of solar energy are solar thermal, because solar energy can be classified into two basic. One is solar thermal, one is solar photovoltaic. Solar photovoltaic is associated much with electrical engineering, and solar thermal is associated with mechanical engineering. So my lecture will be emphasis more on solar photovoltaic. But then if I leave solar thermal, then it will be not good, in the sense that without solar thermal, solar energy is not complete. So with that, we have other sources of energy like wind, biomass, biocrops, and tidal, ocean wave, ocean thermal, fossil fuel in a way, and hydro because of the rain. All is because of the sun. So second, main source of energy for this world. So history of solar energy, the Greek people in 212 basis used it against Romans and magnifying glass in 18th century, with reaching out 1,700 degrees Celsius. Now PV was invented in 1839, but actually then solar thermal power plant in 1860, just by heating up the water concentrated. Then solar water desalination plant in 1870, and solar effects solid and selenium in 1877. So here are some of the history. So efficient solar, actually PV, where in modern saving, say Bell Lab in USA were with 6% efficiency in 1950. Then its application was used in space application in 1958, and now efficient solar PV cells commercially available with 16%. And of course, we are reaching higher values of percentage efficiency, but 40% with computer controlled glass and lens, but it all is still in the laboratory stage. And we can say comfortably that yes, we have reached around 16, 17, 18% of solar energy. So this is the figure in which we can say that sun emits visible light radiation characteristic of its surface temperature 6000 degrees Celsius. And the earth reflects away what it receives. It reflects away around 30% of energy which it receives. Average temperature of earth is approximately 15 degrees centigrade. Average atmospheric temperature outside the earth in the terrestrial region is -20 and radiates away rest long wavelength infrared radius deep at space it is 260 degrees centigrade. Yes. So solar radiation coming from sun first crosses the atmosphere which is porous media. It contains carbon oxide, oxygen, carbon dioxide, ozone, water droplets, dust, etc. And there is a direct beam which comes directly to the sun, and there is this is the terrestrial region around 4-5 kilometers above the earth. This atmosphere, this porous medium, and this extra terrestrial radiation, with with air mass am is equal to 1 at the ground, and am is 1 upon cos theta, because theta is the angle through which the sun beam radiation comes in. So that is what is direct radiation, and this is the earth. And scattering takes place because when the sun rays come, the different particles they attract, they come in direct contact with the dust particle and other things, maybe droplets, and some is diverted. But direct beam radiation comes directly. So overall, we have beam direction and diffuse radiation. So these are the two radiations which we receive. The albedo is the radiation which has been reflected back from Earth. It's called albedo. So types of solar radiation is scattered and diffused, or direct or beam, albedo, and total radiations. So we have got total solar radiations, that is the sum of diffuse and direct. So total radiation is scattered plus direct or diffuse plus beam. So total radiation is all the two. Now the next thing coming up is solar insolation. The solar radiation received on the flat horizontal surface on Earth. This unit is watt per meter square. Now you will never find a word insolation in any dictionary because it is a misnomer. Its full form is incident solar radiation. I repeat, solar insolation, and some of the people might confuse with insulation. Insulation is something different, absolutely different in electrical quantity, which insulates a conducting part and non-conducting part. But solar insolation is incident solar radiation, and the definition is solar radiation received on flat horizontal surface on Earth in watt meter per meter square. Now it's important to measure solar radiation. Now irradiance is the measure of power density of sunlight and is measured in watt per meter square, also sometimes measured in lux. So irradiance is the measure of energy density sunlight and is measured also sometimes in kilowatt per meter square. Same thing. Now solar radiations are measured mainly by following instruments. Number one, pyranometer to measure global radiation. That includes as well as scattered radiation. They use pyranometer as the most standard instrument to use solar radiation on a horizontal surface. Now, pyroheliometer is measures only beam radiation using a long narrow tube. I'm going to show the figure of it. Collect them narrow tube to collect beam radiation from the sun at normal incidence. Normal means direct. So sunshine recorder, it measures the sunshine hours in a day. Sunshine recorder is not a very complicated, it's simple glass, magnifying glass. When the sun rays hit the magnifying glass, they cross the magnifying glass, concentrate on a paper, on a point, and that point starts burning. You might, all of, even myself, have played during my children days, taking the magnifying glass and burning paper. So that very theory is used in sunshine recorder. It starts for example, in 7 in the morning, very little burning will take place. But as we go ahead at 9 a.m. in the morning, it will burn again more. And at maximum 12 o'clock in the, if the sun is full, then the concentration of the heating of that magnifying glass will be very high, and it will more burning is there, and till evening all the ratings, all the things are taken care, and for the next day another paper is introduced, and this way all the 365 days of a year we can measure the sunshine hours in a day. So it's very important, and all the records are maintained in Meteorological Department of India, and there are now different methods, modern methods, but these are still used for sunshine recorder. So lux meter is also there. Insolation is measured in lux in British thermal unit per feet square hour or watt per square. And then we have data logger recorder. A digital logger with lux meter can be used to record data. I'm going to give you the figures of that. So this is a pyranometer to measure global radiation. That means the sum of beam radiation and as well as scattered radiation. And this pyranometer is being measured in global radiation near the P module, because its efficiency and its performance can be known only when we know the radiation. So if it is to calculate the efficiency, we need to have a pyranometer. So this is a perihalometer to measure beam radiation from the sun at normal incidence. So different parts. Humidity indicator. Number 2 is sights. Number 3 is aperture tube. Number 4 is protection cap. Number 5 is window with heater to get away from the what you call this thing, air, water, humidity, and cable gland and cable. So these are the main parts of a perihalometer. So these are lux insolation meter. They are not very accurate, but yes, they can give you some indication of what is the solar insolation at that very place. So these are digital data logger to record insolation, temperature, and wind speed, and different parameters at different places. And you are sitting connected to the computer, sitting in front of the computer, and you can see what is the temperature outside and what is the wind speed, and all these things can be directly known from the data logger. So since Tibet is in the news, I just give you a figure of signaling system in Tibet railway station. In Tibet station, signals, these photovoltaic panels are used. Now you must be seeing here, these are inclined. They are not flat, but they are inclined. This angle beta, the from horizontal to the inclination of these panels, there is this angle beta, and this is very important to have the maximum solar radiation throughout the day. So beta is very important to calculate to have a good design, because these are all fixed. There is no mechanical what you call tracking system in this one. So basic sun, earth angle, these are some of the angles which are very important for calculation or understanding of the solar radiation. The first is angle of latitude given by phi. You'll see it. So angle of latitude, the angle made by a radial line joining the given location to the center of the earth with its projection on the equator line. So this is what is the angle of latitude, phi. Similarly, angle of declination, it is angular displacement from the place of earth. It is angular displacement of the sun from the plane of earth equator. It is angle between the line joining the center of Earth and center of the Sun. I'm going to show the figure. It is very important. Angle of declination is very important to know the solar radiation of a particular point of the Earth. Similarly, inclination angle is altitude. The angle between sun's ray and its projection on horizontal surface is known as inclination angle. So these are the definition. In solar azimuthal angle, gamma is the angle on a horizontal plane between the line u sought and projection of sun's ray on horizontal plane. It is taken as positive when measured from south towards west. Similarly, tilt angle, which I just talked about, the angle between inclined plane surface collector under consideration and the horizontal. It is taken to be positive for surface sloping to south. This is also important. Now, similarly, surface azimuth angle, the angle in horizontal plane between the line due south and the horizontal projection of the normal to the inclined plane surface or the collector is taken as positive when measured from south towards west. Similarly, angle of incidence, the angle between sun's ray incident on the plane surface, or you can say the collector, and the normal of that surface. So this is the figure of all these angles which I will discuss. This is the declination angle, then phi, then omega, and this is the solar. The important thing is the sun, the earth is tilted at an angle of 23 degree. It is not straight, but the earth is tilted 23 degree, and earth has got two movements. One is the, you can say, lateral movement, and one is movement on its axis. The movement on its axis gives you, say, sun, day and night, and the movement on the oval shape around the year gives you season, which I will discuss later on. So this is the declination angle. This is the position of the earth from the sun, the angular displacement of the sun from the plane of the earth equator. So you will find that there are, in December 22 we have the small day, and June 22 we have the largest day, and starting from first day to 364 days, it is angle between the line joining the center of the earth and the center of the sun to the plane of equator. So delta, the empirical formula is derived is 23.5 sine 360 upon 365, then 284 plus n degrees. Now what is n? N is the year, n is the day of the year counted from 1st January. For example, if you want to know the declination angle on 30th of January, that is 30th of January, you will put in this equation data is equal to 23.4 sine 365 284 plus 30. That will be the declination angle on 30th of January. So just calculate. For example, 29th of December, it will be n will be 364. So this is how we calculate the declination angle for different position. So again, this is a figure of sun, this alpha, beta, and this gamma. This is the horizontal plane, normal horizontal plane. It's called vertical. Sun rays coming at angle theta. So these are different angle. Solar azimuthal angle and zenith angle. So again, this inclination angle showing different angles. Not much to be discussed here. We just have to angle of altitude, tilt angle, angle of incidence. These are important for calculating the solar radiation. So this is again latitude, declination angle, and hour angle. Now see this figure which I have already explained. So we have got vernal equinox on March 21st of March, I think. the day and night are equal. That is 12-hour day and 12-hour night. And similarly, we have autumnal equinox on September 23, 22. So we have 12 hours, 12-hour day and 12, they are equal. And after that, the day starts increasing in north hemisphere and is summer. And after 27th, 23rd of September, the we start getting the day smaller and night longer. That is called winter solstice. So actually, figure shows positive and negative declination angle. So from minus 23 to plus 23, delta angle fluctuates, and because of that, different season is there. In northern hemisphere, it is different. In southern hemisphere, it is different, and the angle of tilt is delta as shown in positive in summer and negative in winter. So actually, if you are seeing the figure sun in between, so it is not actually sun in between. Sun is very, very high up in the sky. But yes, it is moving in this direction that sun is in the middle, and the earth rotates in a oval shape in 360 days, 365 days. Less than that, I think. Yes. So this is March 21 of September 21, 12's length of the daylight and length of the night is 12 hours exactly at every point of time. Every point of Earth on this day, we have 12 hour of night and 12 hour of. So this is a very clear picture, movement of sun across the sky. So actually, sun doesn't move. The Earth is moving around the sun in a oval shape, and one is moving around its axis, tilted at an angle of 23 degrees. So at this point, 21 September and 21 June, 21 June we have maximum, 21 December it starts, it is equal, and 21 December it starts increasing the day, and again 21 March we get 12 hours, 21 March and 21 September we get 12 hours day and 12 hour night. Now, this is a very important slide in which I will take 2-3 minutes to explain. Solar radiation available at a particular location keeps changing during the day and also during the year. So it is ever that the solar radiation is same. Say time to time changes and from day to day it changes. Though the change is not very prominent, but yes, changes take place from day to day, time to time. So this is important. Now we are talking about northern hemisphere. When the sun is at the top, we say the sun is at the zenith and beam radiation is maximum at that time. Now just see this figure. What you will see that this is a house, and what will be what from this we say that there are 3 locations in December, from 8:30 a.m. to this is the start, and from 21st March to 20 December, the sun rises from 6:20, and in June it's 4 a.m. Sets. Sorry, starts at 4 a.m. So it depends upon the location of the Earth. But what I am telling you is the face of the where to put your solar panels to get maximum solar radiation. Now, if you look at this house, even if it is flat, you will see the Earth, the sun rotation is maximum on the facing south of this house. If you see facing south, facing north, if you put your panel facing north, then even if it is flat, the solar radiation will not be maximum. But if it is in this direction, facing south, in northern hemisphere, we get maximum solar radiation. So whenever you go, and if you find a solar photovoltaic power plant, whatever is facing if it is facing whatever the face, that will be the south, facing south will have maximum solar radiation, and facing west, north will be lesser. So that is one of the most important thing which you should remember, that in northern hemisphere we get solar energy if we put our panels facing south. So just a repeat of the radiation from sun is received in form of direct irradiation, diffuse irradiations. Combining direct and diffuse is called global irradiations. Now the cloud also absorbs some of the radiations, and then it scatters. So reason for scattering is cloud also. So some of the at the solar radiation at the sea level is 1000 watt per meter square, the standard, and some of these reflected solar radiation from the earth is shown here, and this is the earth radiation, this is the sun. So just the same figure but more clear picture. Now this is the solar radiation, global annual solar radiation in kilowatt hour per meter. What you will notice here that we lie in a very good solar radiation area. Most of our area, as the map, we lie in 1900 kilowatt hour per meter square region, and the rest in 1700 to 1900 kilowatt per hour meter. So we have got we are blessed with a large solar energy, so we can certainly go for harnessing solar energy in a more scientific manner. Then we can uh, use renewable energy to more. So India, being a tropical country, receives adequate solar radiation for 300 days. So it depends. This is an average. Maybe 310 days in a particular area, maybe 290 days in a particular area. So these are solar resource. This map depicts model estimates of annual average global horizontal irradiation, called as GHI, at 10 kilometer resolution, based on hourly estimate of radiation over 7 years. This was taken for 200 to 200. The inputs were visible imaginary from geostationary satellite. The aerosol optical depth, water vapor, and other zone lengths. There's all been taken into account. So energy generation estimation, peak sun hour concept is an important concept used for calculating the radiation of a particular location. For example, if the solar radiation for a particular location is 5 kilowatt hour per meter square per day, then peak sun hours, in short, it is called as PSH, for that location will be 5 hours. Yes, try to understand. For example, if solar radiation for a particular location is 5 kilowatt hour per meter square per day, that means peak sun hours for that location will be 5 hours. So this is how PSH is calculated. These are radius, this is the timings, hour of the day. So this source and be GSES handbook of grid connected PV system design and installation. Now actually how efficiency of a, or you can say the losses takes place in a PV system. Actually, there is 10% loss, estimated loss due to temperature, or you can say derating or loss factor. We can take as point. Now, there is a concept, or you can you can say misconcept, that in a very sunny days with very high temperature, we expect a very high solar radiation. No doubt the solar radiation is high, but because of the high temperature, there is a loss of around 10%, 20%, 30% because of high temperature. So the maximum efficiency of a solar PV panel is at 25 degrees Celsius. But on an average, in Uttar Pradesh plains and Delhi, we have around 40 degrees Celsius. So at 40 degrees Celsius, the temperature, because of that, efficiency comes down. So the best solar radiation we get in October and in the month of February, March, where the temperature is not high and the sky is clear. There is 3% loss due to dirt. So the rating factor is 0.97. Manufacturer's tolerance 3%. So again, 0.97. Shading, there are some shading, although shading is not advised in any case, but even if there is shading, then there is a loss factor of 2%. And orientation is important. If we correctly design beta, the angle the angle of the panel is put in a proper way, then it is 1% loss, very less. Then voltage drop 2%, inverter 3% loss, and loss due to radiance level 3%. So together we can say total derating factor multiplying all derating factors come out to be 0.73. So we take an example. On a clear and sunny day, 10 kilowatt peak. There is the question why we say peak. We design the system for peak, so we say kilowatt peak. We do not get for 10 kilowatt peak, we do not get 10 kilowatt. So it is a for solar panels we define in kilowatt peak. So on a clear sunny day, a 10 kilowatt peak PV array received 5 peak sun hours. Total loss derating in the system estimated to be 0.73%. Expected output can be peak sun hours multiplied by peak hour output multiplied by total derating factor. So total derating factor already we have got 0.73 already calculated, and 5 hours is given, and 10 kilowatt output in the first year is 36 watt hour per day. So what we was first year actually, as we go on over the years, the life of a panel actually is the life of a panel is say 20 years, 5 years, as the case may be, not less than 20 years in any case. 25 years, sometimes 20 years as the manufacturer's warranty. So as the time passes by, the efficiency comes down, and that is what I am going to show next page. Guarantees, there is 80% losses, then 91%, 92% according to years. So over the years, after 25 years, we will say 20%. After 20 years, so five peak sun hours after derating, and the system is 0.73. So for the first year, it is 30.5 kilowatt hour in the last, but after 10 years, then summer shortest meditation. So 0 side latitude in degrees is 0 to 15 degree. Optimum tilt angle beta will be 15. I mean, the best time for through the year. Because you must have seen that solar radiation season from time, but we're not going to change the angle which is best for whole of the year, because changing the angle of the fan, if you have 1 megawatt of fan, then large number of fans, it's very difficult to change the angle every 4 months, 6 months. So we fixed it. So we fixed on the and we just 15 to 20 degree at the latitude. At this 15 to 25, whatever the latitude, that will be equal to that latitude. So there is no calculations required. Simply we put the whatever is the latitude of that place. If it is between 22, 15 degree, 25 degree, then we select the latitude of that place, and that will be the beta. So above 25 to 30, we add 5 degree to the latitude, and between 30 to 35, we add 10 degree, and from 35 to 40 degree, we add 15 degree, and for greater than 4 degree, we add 20 degree. So these are some of the best optimum value for beta to harness solar energy during the whole year. So in general, we can say side latitude in degrees plus 15 degree, optimum tilt angle in degrees, and fixed, and the so this is the final. We can say latitude plus 15 degree is the best tilt angle. Next. Now it is a device that is made of semiconductor material, silicon, gallium arsenide, and cadmium, etc., that convert sunlight directly into electricity. But the light directly converted into electricity is DC. Again, I repeat, the source, the electric current is DC. When solar cells absorb sunlight, free electrons and holes are created at positive oblique negative junctions. If the positive and negative junctions of solar cells are connected to a load, whatever be the load, for example, the resistance, current is delivered to operate the electrical equipment. DC current will be flow into that resistance. So there are different type of cells: crystalline silicon PV module. Two types of crystalline silicon are used to produce PV module: single crystalline, also known as monocrystalline silicon, and multicrystalline silicon, also called as polycrystalline silicon. The polycrystalline silicon module has lower conversion efficiency than single crystalline silicon, but both of them have high conversion efficiency, that around 10 to 12 or 10 to 13 or 14. These are the conversion efficiency of this mono and multi-crystalline modules cells. So other type of are amorphous silicon or thin film silicon module absorbs light more quickly than crystalline silicon modules, so it can be made thinner. It suits for any application that high efficiency is not required, low cost is important. The typical efficiency of amorphous silicon film module is around 6%, which is quite low. Now there is hybrid silicon PV module, a combination of single crystalline silicon rounded by thin layers of amorphous silicon. There is a combination of these two. Excellent sensitivity to lower light levels or induced current. The hybrid silicon PV module has highest level of and conversion efficiency of around 17%. Now this is just a figure showing different parts of a solar PV system: electricity meter, an AC isolator, fuse box, inverter, battery, charge controller, generation meter, DC isolator, cable, monitoring, tracking. Discussed every part of it in detail. This is a solar cell. One solar cell, they are connected. Number of solar cells connected and put in a frame is called module, and different modules connected is called panels. So the basic is solar cell, the number of solar cell in a module, and number of modules is called solar panel. Solar panels, and if solar panels connected together is called solar array, where we can generate megawatts of power. Now, the working, when sunlight strikes solar cell, the cell creates charge carriers, electrons, and holes. Then we have the individual solar cells are connected together to make a module called solar module or PV module. To increase the current, and the module are connected in array called solar array. Depending on the current or voltage requirement, solar arrays are connected in variety of ways. If the solar arrays are connected in parallel, the output current will increase. If the solar current is connected in series, the output voltage will increase. According to the situation and the requirement, if we need more voltage, we connect in series, and if we want more current, we connect in series. So these are some of the ways of connecting. Overall power will be same. So that by connecting series or parallel, we can increase the output power. The output power will be same, but according to the requirement of the voltage or the current, we can connect in different fashions, either in series or parallel. So again, this is the same figure. When light energy is in the form of electromagnetic waves, light energy hit the silicon. There are anti-reflection film, N-type silicon wafer, P-type silicon wafer, there is electrode, and these are connected. And once a load is connected, current starts following DC current, and we get electricity. So this is how a solar panel works. So this is an example of this modern power panel. Sunlight hits the solar panel and generates electric current, of course DC. The electric current flows to the inverter, which converts DC to AC, the most commonly used form of electricity. Actually, after the advent of Tesla, induction motor, generator, all over the world, we use AC. For most of our equipment, utilization is AC equipment, but now we have generation, we have to convert into AC, so we use inverter, and inverter is the heart of all solar PV system. I repeat, the heart of the whole solar PV system is the inverter. And the inverter efficiency increasing day by day, and it is more than 90%, 95%. This is inverter efficiency. And the second most important characteristic of the inverter is that the output should be AC. Now the inverter manufacturers usually, not now but earlier, they used to claim that we are AC, but actually they are never AC. So this fight is going on. We have different kind of inverters, multi-level inverters, to give as much as possible. Now this AC electricity flows from inverter to the breaker box, which directs the current to any appliance in the building that is using electricity. Unused electricity flows through a utility meter into the grid. If that is connected with the smart energy meter, then only this will be, or you can say meter which measures electricity incoming in two-way energy meter. It is drawn from the grid when the building needs more energy than is produced by the solar. I will be explaining in detail of different systems, but time is short, so I'll be going fast now. So solar PV system produce direct current, therefore they are only used for DC equipments. The alternating current is needed for AC equipment. To backup energy is needed, therefore photovoltaic system requires other equipment in relation to solar systems, solar modules. So the components are specially designed to integrate the solar PV system. They are revolutionary products. Now I'm moving faster. So these are just a figure of a complete system. Is a charge controller which in houses MPPT, maximum power point, which increase the efficiency of a solar panel by around 10%. The DC output goes to the charge controller, and one of its goes to the battery for charging the battery, the other goes to the DC load, and the other goes to inverter, and from inverter we get AC load. So this is just the figure. So solar module is component of any POR system. I think I have explained. Charge controller regulates voltage and current from solar arrays, charges the battery, prevents battery from overcharging, also performs control over the discharges, and this also controls the MPPT. Major use of PV system: power generation at reasonable cost, conventional thermal power plants, power space satellite, remote radio communication, marine warning lights, domestic, street, industrial lighting, water pumping, so many applications. Now electric vehicles also come up, aircraft, battery charger for electric vehicles, agriculture applications. So there are a lot of applications for PV. So advantage is no thermal mechanical link, so efficiency is quite high. May I know, is it audible to all of you? Just anyone can answer. So no, okay. So
Yes,
no
sir.
moving,
Audible.
okay, thank you. So no moving parts, no fluids or gases. After after half an hour, it seems that I am speaking to the computer. Whether you are listening or not, I am not sure. But yes, thank you. Consumer no fuel operate. There is no fuel to operate, and that is why even if the efficiency is 15%, there is no cost of energy, and that is what. And its rapid response. We can install a solar PV power plant in a matter of 7 days, 3 days, 4 days. But comparing to solar thermal power plants, at least takes 5 years, 3 years. For hydro, it takes 6 years. For nuclear, more than 5 years. So these are the advantages of solar PV system. It is modular. We can increase the panel and as per the requirement. So advantage of PV system: no pollution, long life, as I discussed, 25 years, 20 years. Now there are certain disadvantages. The cost is still high. The conversion efficiency is 15%. Oh, battery. Healthy. So not suitable for portable system, and not reliable as solar is intermittent, and that is the biggest advantage with solar energy and wind energy design, which I am going to speak after a few minutes. So going further, classification, we have central power plant, standalone power system, then standard solar power system without grid, solar system for consumer application, and we have got so numerous types which I'm not going to explain because of lack of time. So distributed power system, microgrid, then we are going to central power plants, SPV panels, then maximum power point, inverter, and grid. It is connected to grid. Now it's not easy to simply connect the output power from the inverter to the grid. We have to synchronize. Like the voltage phase should be same, the phase difference should not be there, and frequency should be same, and phase sequence should be same. So all the three parameters, when at a particular point, then we can connect. So it is all done electronically and through power electronics devices. There is no problem. So it's not a problem now, but with the advent of more power electronics devices, it has become very easy. Otherwise, synchronization was a big problem. So no energy storage, no batteries. If the system is connected to the grid, we don't need any batteries.
Hold on for 1 minute.
So no, so power is supplied to grid during daytime. Only the arrow shows the direction of the power flow. So power generation depends upon weather conditions. These are some of the disadvantages. Now this is the figure of a solar central power plant with grid tied inverter. So condition with MPPT, solar power radiation coming up. Is it okay? Hello? Okay, thank you. Let us start again.
Continue.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry for the interruption, but then you get 5 minutes time to drink water and refresh yourself. So the next. Okay. So the next is alone system. I have explained you. This is only solar PV and power connection which includes MPPT and local center. There is eco. I don't know what the problem.
Eco से किसी ने mic on
Please, someone. These AC/DC chargers used. There is a eco. I'm considering. So there is again a grid connected solar power system. So this grid system. Now these are the connected system, and if you, I 5 minutes time for this, and that will be very clear to you for everyone. I think this is the best slide I think I have. So it is a grid connected system, and the loads are television, light, fans, and inverter. There now. Now building for connecting solar system. This is the figure when there was no solar panels were installed. So no problem, connected with the grid, no solar panel. So the arrow with pink means electricity from grid, and the arrow from solar will give you electricity from solar. So you understand the meaning of pink arrow and yellow arrow. Next, after connecting with solar panel, so this is what is the condition that yellow current and the power coming from solar panels and power coming from grid, both of them are going to the house. Now there are 5 simple scenario for solar energy, solar on grid system. Number 1, solar generation is equal to the road requirement. Solar energy is enough for all the loads of the house. So in that case, all the energy from the panels is going into the house. No doubt grid energy is available, but the grid power is not used. So the second energy, solar energy, is greater than the load. So not only all the solar energy is used, but some of the solar energy converted into AC through the inverter is sent to the grid. So this is another condition. The third condition is solar generation is less than load required. So in that case, some of the energy power from the grid and some of the from the local grid, some of the solar is being used. So these are the third. And the fourth, solar generation is zero as in the night. So you see all is used from the grid. And the grid, last option, no grid, and so this is the option, nothing is sitting in the dark, just seeing the television screen and nothing else. So this is the fourth condition. So distributed power system. So this is the distributed power system. Now I'm going to the wind now. There are different systems, but we are because of the some hitch. There is a microgrid system, a combination of different renewable energy sources based on power system, which are also connected to grid to enhance the reliability of the power system. In the absence of insufficient energy or no energy supplied from renewable energy sources. So there are different parameters, but it will take so much of time. This is just a concept of a microgrid. So this figure I wanted to show India's first 1 megawatt canal top solar power plant. There is utilize the canal which are never used anyway. So that can be used for solar generation. As the cost of the land increases, we have to go for this. India is among the first to use this kind of things. So solar thermal, not in my syllabus, not to speak much, but I wanted to speak, but because of the time, I am sorry. But passive solar heating is important. Just see, because of the super window, which lets in the sun when required and stops the sun when required. So these are super windows and they are passive cooling, heating and cooling. And similarly, this is active solar cooling. Then there is pump, and this is a heat to house is exchanger with air. And so there are kind of collectors I'm going to discuss. I'm coming directly to wind energy. So wind energy is form of renewable energy. It's clean, cheap energy. It is one of the among the world's fastest growing energy source that has been used for different parts of the world. An estimated 1% to 3% from the sun that hits the earth is converted into wind. Just imagine, only 1 to 3%. And there are 3 types of wind turbines: horizontal axis wind turbine, vertical axis wind turbine, small wind turbines, and airborne wind turbines. It is a new type of turbine which is going for the last 2-3 years. Which I wanted to speak much, but we have to go for the basic first. So these are the wind energy development. Wind energy captures have evolved over the centuries. The first one is a Dutch design, which takes the thrust of the wind and moves according to the direction of the what you call the winds, the blades. So this is the current benchmark for renewable energy generation. So this is the what is going on in the world, and this is the lightweight helium-filled structure can reach altitude that no conventional turbine can attain. So these Dutch design wind turbines, a bit of history. So not to discuss much. Propeller type and 2-3 phase horizontal axis electricity conversion system, 1920s and 50s. And this is the principle of wind simple. It's simple, the poles receive less energy than the equator from the sun. Also, land heats up and cools down more quickly than the seas. This
Sir,
difference between
Jad here, sir. Sir, we need to conclude because time is coming up.
oh, okay, I will conclude. But there is a echo. I meant some of one. I have not muted his mic. Anyway, going fast. Give me 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay.
Only lift and drag forces, as in the case of aeroplane. You know, there is a lift when there is a fluid moving in a foil. Then there will be and the difference of pressure from the lower and upper. Because of the difference of the pressure, there is the movement of the blades of the turbine. So this is movement, and their design is in such that they starts moving, and the mechanical energy of the wind is converted through the gears to the turbine and energy generated. So this is the basic expression. The power is half rho a v cube. V is velocity of the earth, q velocity, power is the air density, uh, and rotor swept area A is the So these are some of the basics. Now this is the horizontal axis, vertical axis. So general information about the 1970s, problem petroleum crisis. Then it has more research is being in this way. So economic one is capacity of 10 to 30 megawatt, and these are different figures. So the speed of the blades are very small, and if we directly connect it to the gear, to connect to the generator, then no meaningful frequency power will be generated. So what we do is we increase the speed ratio by gears as shown in the figure in the ratio 1:90. Then as you know, their speed sometimes increases, there is a hail storm. So in that case, there is a cutoff speed at 80 kilometers per hour. So speed up, there is step up transformer, and there is yaw control. Yaw control is to control the blades so that the maximum wind energy is received. So this is a velocity sensor, it's called anemometer, direction as well as the wind speed. And this gives signal to the controller, and which controls the nacelle to put it in front of the speed. So this is the nacelle control. So V related is the maximum speed at the tip. So this is the control of the what we call blades control, so that we have maximum speed. The angle of attack is maximum. So wind turbine efficiency is very important. Or if you see the input wind, the speed is quite high, and the output speed is quite low because the energy has taken to the wind turbine, and the output in wind speed is less. So V out is far greater than V input. V input is high, V output is low. You just see the figure. So P mechanical is half and V square minus half. Now this is the expression. If we can make it 0, then what will happen? If we can make it 0, then we get maximum mechanical energy. But this is possible only when if we stuck the output 0, the speed of the output 0 of the wind just after the wind turbine, if it is 0, then only we can have maximum efficiency. But if this is struck, the input energy will be struck, and so therefore a derivation is called Bette's constant, and any efficiency of the wind turbine cannot be more than 59.3% anywhere in the world. We have reached 42, 43%, 45%, 46%, but we can never cross Bette's limit. So Bette's law indicates the maximum power that can be extracted from the wind independent of design of a wind turbine. So it is 59.6%. So I think as this is, one important thing about the what you call the, this is called the cost aspect. The tower cost is very, very high. It's to 26%. The rotor blades cost 22%. Overall, wind turbine cost 63%, planning 9%, foundation 70%, grid connected 7%. So these are the cost scenario of wind turbine. So I think I have finished. Just see, this is the height of the wind turbines over the years. I think as Mr. Zad is telling me, time is up. So I'm sorry I had to, because of the limitations of the sometimes net, sometimes connections. So I cannot give you full what I planned. But anyway, giving a regularly lecture is difficult because so many materials are there and so many things are to be discussed. So I think we should have some discussion and some question hour time. So Mr. Zad, please.
Thank you, sir, for your very interactive session. I request the participants, if you have any question, you can ask, but the question should be brief. And better if you write the message in the chat box. Participants, if you have any question, you can ask.
Yes.
Sir, I am thankful to you for your nice and interesting lecture covering so many things related to solar as well as wind energy. And we have provided the contact details to all the participants of all resource persons, and they can
Always discuss. No problem.
hello.
Yes.
Are you? Am I audible?
Yes. Yes. You are audible.
Okay. Okay, sir. So I request the participants to, which if you have any questions, you can send to sir on email and ask for a response.
I'll try my best to answer. And thank
And
you for patient sharing.
it was
Thank Atal FDP programs to give me an opportunity to be in front and speak something on renewable energy, my favorite topic. And I'm also and Dr. Rehan, the coordinator, and Mr. Zad for giving me an opportunity to discuss with so many participants. Thank you.
it is our pleasure, sir, and thank you very much, sir, for your
Okay.
session.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, from my side also.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Actually, I have some meetings, that's why I left, but it was a good topic.
I too have a meeting and I'm going to the meeting also.
Yes, the same meeting, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Request the participants to please keep joining this session. Don't leave. Just we will be starting our next at 12. So after 15 minutes, we will have another speaker. So please keep your session on.
కళ్యాణ్ ఎప్పుడు చూసా ఉంటుంది కదా.
కొత్త అకౌంట్ సార్ ఆడికి లేదు, ఎవరికి లేదు.